Sometimes games get better towards the end. At that point, you start to realize that you're not just playing, but actually living the storyline. Such games become masterpieces in our memories, and we always sing their praises. That's why I've made a list of 15 games that blew my mind after completion. So, let's look at the first game on my list. Nier Automata. We all know how awesome Nier really is. It's one of the best anime-style iconic games of all time. The blend of different playstyles is crazy as you get to play in third person and even in side-scrolling. In my opinion, the story is the best thing as by the end you get really attached to the characters. Also, without spoiling anything, you probably need a tissues after finishing the game. It's a bit emotional.
Now would we? Don't go trying to be a hero, alright?
Nier Automata is one of those games that just sticks with you long after you've finished it. The gameplay itself is smooth and satisfying, with this fluid mix of hack and slash combat and bullet hell moments that keeps you constantly engaged. It's a weird but incredibly cool blend of genres. You switch between melee combos and twin-stick shooter mechanics, and it somehow works so well together. The game plays with your expectations in a way that very few others do. You're thinking it's just a typical post-apocalyptic sci-fi about androids fighting machines, but then it hits you with deep philosophical questions about life, death, and the meaning of existence. Every time you think you figured it out, the game flips the script, especially with those multiple endings. And I'm not talking about tiny alternate endings. Each one adds layers to the story and characters. You're not just playing a game, you're diving deeper into a narrative puzzle.
Hypothesis: jamming caused by enemies in local vicinity.
Red Dead Redemption 2. Everyone knows how emotional the game is. After spending so much time with Arthur, watching him go from this hardened outlaw to a man trying to make things right, it's like the whole journey ends in this gut-wrenching finale. You see him slowly deteriorating because of his illness, but it's more than just his health. It's this internal struggle he's going through, trying to redeem himself after all the wrongs he's done. The music, the weight of everything he's been through, it feels like you're right there with him. And when Arthur faces Dutch and Micah, you feel all this tension that's been building throughout the game explode. Whether you choose to help John or go for the money, there's this sense of finality. Arthur's last stand, staring at the sunrise, is just brutal but beautiful at the same time. And then there's the epilogue with John, which ties everything back into the first game. It's like a slower burn after Arthur's story, but it gives you a sense of closure, watching John build the life Arthur wanted for him. It's satisfying but also bittersweet because you know what's coming for John too. The whole ending just leaves you reflecting on loyalty, betrayal, and the price of living the outlaw life. Red Dead 2 is one of those games that you will absolutely love, especially after the ending. It'll be one of those experiences that will make you feel as if you played something more than just a game. You literally lived the life of an outlaw.
You, my friend, what do you think about women's suffrage?
Women voting? Sure, why not?
Witcher 3. The ending of The Witcher 3 is an emotional roller coaster, and honestly, it's one of the most impactful conclusions I've seen in a game. Depending on the choices you make, you can get one of several different endings, and each one feels meaningful in its own way. For me, seeing how Geralt's relationship with Ciri unfolds was the heart of the entire journey. After all the monster hunting, politics, and war, it comes down to how you've influenced Ciri's choices and her fate. The moments leading up to the end, where Ciri faces the White Frost, are so tense, and I genuinely felt the weight of my decisions. The multiple endings add more depth to the game. Different people will feel different emotions depending on the choices they make. Ultimately, the game gives you so much closure while still letting you feel like the world goes on. Whether you end up with Yennefer or Triss, or if Geralt is just a lone wanderer, there's this sense that the world keeps spinning even after everything you've done. It's bittersweet, but that's what makes The Witcher 3 so unforgettable. It leaves you satisfied but also longing for more stories in that world. Witcher has been one of the most iconic RPGs of all time. That's why it was good to play such a high quality, big budget game and finally see the curtains roll on Geralt and Ciri's story.
Waited until you found me, but well, you know me. Patience has never been my strong suit. It's good to see you, Geralt.
God of War. The ending of God of War is one of those moments where you just sit back and take it all in. After the long, intense journey with Kratos and Atreus across the realms, everything leads up to the highest peak in Jotunheim, where you finally scatter Faye's ashes. It's a quiet, emotional scene, and it feels like a big exhale after all the chaos and fighting. But the real kicker is the reveal about Atreus. You find out that Faye, Kratos' wife, was a giant all along, and Atreus was originally meant to be named Loki. That twist just blew my mind, especially knowing what Loki means in Norse mythology. It adds this whole new layer to the story, where you realize that everything we've been through has been setting up something bigger, something we can't even fully grasp yet. And then, just when you think it's over, the game drops that final tease with Thor showing up at their house in a vision of the future. It's like the game says we've got even more epic stuff coming, it leaves you hyped and eager for the sequel. The ending does a perfect job of giving closure to the story of Kratos and Atreus, while also setting the stage for the next big chapter in their lives. It's the kind of ending that sticks with you, and you know the journey is far from over. I'm highly excited to see what the studio has stored in for us in the next games. Although as an OG fan of the series, I kind of feel that it's time to put an end to Kratos' journeys, and I would like some more new IPs from Santa Monica. Uncharted 4. The ending of Uncharted 4 feels like a perfect send-off for Nathan Drake's journey. After going through all the intense moments of treasure hunting, near-death escapes, and brotherly drama, the game finally slows down in the best way possible. Nate finally decides to walk away from the treasure for good, choosing his family over the dangerous life he's lived. That final shot of him and Elena in the epilogue is such a satisfying moment. It's like seeing Nate finally have the peace he deserves after everything he's been through across all the games. It was like saying goodbye to an old friend who has finally found their happiness. The game lets you leave with a sense of closure, knowing Nathan Drake's story is done and it feels right. The reason why a lot of the fans consider the final part as the best one is because of all the attachments. I mean, we have seen Nathan through a lot of struggles, misery, battles, so when you see him finally leaving old life behind and spending time with his family, it all feels really special. It's as if you see a character who's done everything and is now living the true meaning of life. Also, it's not just the ending. Uncharted 4 is a must-play game for anyone who wants to explore mysteries, find treasures, or just want to experience some crazy action scenes. Even if you haven't played the older parts, you can still dive into Thief's End. Because this final installment is a standalone, which means you don't need any prior knowledge. I'm sure that you guys will have an amazing time navigating Nathan's one final adventure. Doom Eternal. I know that Eternal is not everyone's favorite choice. Some of you guys probably like the 2016 release or maybe older versions. However, for this video we will be talking about the fast-paced jam where your goal is to just blast enemies. Doom Eternal is a straight-up adrenaline rush from start to finish. There's this insane rhythm you get into with all the different weapons and abilities. It forces you to stay aggressive as there's no hiding or camping. You're constantly switching weapons, managing ammo, health, and armor with glory kills, chainsaws, and flame belching enemies. The movement is super fluid, with the dash and double jump making you feel like a total beast. All this proves that your entire goal is to complete the game by killing as many enemies as possible. There's always a demon lurking at every corner. I know some of you guys will disagree, however, in my opinion, the story is something that doesn't matter too much in such games. Here you just play for fun and shoot monsters. The game is also available on PS5, which means all the core aspects such as graphics, gameplay, cutscenes, everything is enhanced to provide a masterpiece experience. You get these moments where it's pure mayhem, and it's so satisfying to clear them out. The heavy metal soundtrack kicks in, and it feels like you're in this perfectly crafted dance of destruction.
Long enough to survive this cursed city.
Sekiro. When you first start this game, you will think about quitting it a lot. Even the normal enemies can kill you in 2 attacks. So Sekiro is not something you can enjoy like other normal fun games. It's one of those games that you must play to get better. learn some new skills, and wants to experience the sense of challenge. Throughout the game, you will defeat several strong bosses, and I mean really strong ones. That's why when you reach the end, all those victories will make you feel as if you have done something great. This sheer sense of accomplishment is what makes the ending of Sekiro perfect. Also, the story or the lore serves a great purpose. You can see different endings depending on the choices you make or the items you gather. Even I completed the game 4 times to see different endings, unlock new passages, or just to learn some new skills. Sekiro sure is a game not for everyone, but if you are looking for some high definition challenge, then it's definitely the best one in the market. They say that in Sekiro, it's not that the game becomes easy, it's you who gets stronger. However, funny thing is that no matter how strong you get, if you are still not careful, then even the normal enemies can kill you in seconds. Low-key, Sekiro is one of my favorites from software games. Control. This is one of the best combinations of sci-fi, supernatural, and mystery. Control can easily be called a masterpiece if you consider all the basic aspects. The story is engaging, the graphics and visuals are top-notch, and the way you learn and explore each secret is mind-blowing. For me, the best thing is the powers and area designs. It's always nice or awesome to mess with the enemies with the telekinesis powers. You can throw stuff at them, blast them, levitate. There's really a lot of cool stuff that you can do to make the game more fun. Quantum Break is yet another example that shares some similar features to Control, so if you have completed Control, then make sure to try that one as well. Now, why the game is so good is because of how everything feels connected and how you are living inside a building where it seems that the reality is constantly changing. This mysterious or suspenseful gameplay storyline is what makes the game one of the finest experiences. Not gonna lie, most of us know that Control is highly popular, so even if you don't like the genre at first, at least give it a try if you have played all the major games. The sudden change of pace will be nice for once. You will get to experience something new if you mostly play RPGs or FPS games. Sunset Overdrive. I literally love this game, and I hate the fact that it's such an underrated gem. More and more people should play Sunset Overdrive. It's one of the most fun and hilarious games out there, and is something that doesn't shy away from breaking the fourth wall. Throughout the game, you will see several fourth wall breaking moments which will make you laugh. The entire purpose of the game is to just have fun and kill enemies. You only need to know one thing about this game: it was developed by Insomniac, the studio behind Spider-Man games. This alone is enough to get you started. Sunset Overdrive is an underappreciated gem that went unnoticed, because Insomniac decided to focus heavily on Spider-Man. The game is an example of something you might play after a long day at work to have a fun experience. Sunset Overdrive seamlessly combines multiple gameplay mechanics, goofy humor, and traversal combat. To be honest, Sunset Overdrive really needs a sequel. Personally, I believe that Ratchet & Clank and Spider-Man stole the spotlight from this game. You will undoubtedly thank me after playing it, as it contains references to other video games, and the fast-paced action and characters, as well as the parkour moves, are some of my favorite features of this game.
I used to think this town was boring.
Bloodborne. Bloodborne is the dark horse of Souls games. It's kinda sad that the game is only available on PS4. For this reason, there are still players who have never completed the game. I hope that in the next 2 years we can finally get a PC port. Anyways, when you first enter Bloodborne, you will literally feel like quitting it because of how tough everything is. Unlike other Souls games, this time you're just thrown into this dark world, and the first boss will definitely take you over 10 to 15 tries, maybe even more, depending on how good you are in Souls games. The more you progress, the harder the enemies get, but the good thing is that you learn throughout the gameplay. In Bloodborne, you can't just beat everything with strong builds or weapons, you must learn the attack patterns and use different strategies. I always thought this game is not for the beginners. Bloodborne is something that you must play after completing the other Souls games, otherwise you won't be able to appreciate the mastery of the game. It's loaded with dark environments that really gives you chills. It's as if the game is telling that you're miserable and completely alone in this demonic world. Some bosses will easily kill you in seconds, and you will retry over 30 times, finally reaching the conclusion what you're even doing with your life. Anyways, what makes the game perfect are the multiple endings. I won't spoil anything, but I'm sure that you will consider Bloodborne as one of the best you have ever played after seeing the ending. Also, don't forget the DLC. Ghost of Tsushima. The line blew my mind after completion isn't quite accurate in the case of Tsushima. From the moment you start the game, you easily get hooked. I remembered booting it up for the first time and, man, the atmosphere just hits you. The island of Tsushima is gorgeous, like every scene is something straight out of a painting. The way the wind guides you instead of a traditional HUD is such a subtle touch, but makes exploring so much more immersive. The open world, the combat, the parkour, and the variety of side content, all this makes the experience 10 out of 10. There isn't just one basic aspect that's better than the others. Combat is at its finest. It's such a satisfying feeling to cheese through the enemies with different stances, and the addition of ghost weapons truly makes you feel like a ninja. Also, don't even get me started on the standoffs. Besides combat, I love how beautiful and big the world is. You explore each part of the island in different acts which force you to see each corner and uncover the secrets. There are hidden duels, shrines, side quests, special NPCs. One thing is for sure that you will definitely miss a good amount of hidden stuff in your first playthrough. That's why New Game Plus is necessary. I remember spending hours completing Mythical Tales. The developers did an amazing job providing us with all this amazing side content besides the main storyline. The struggle of Jin trying to save his island's people and becoming worthy of the protector in the process is something you have to experience yourself. Sifu. Sifu is a game that hits hard, both in terms of combat and difficulty. It's all about precise timing, dodging, and countering, so you really have to master the mechanics if you want to survive. The combat feels super satisfying once you get into the flow, but trust me, it's brutal when you mess up. But it's not just button mashing, you have to think through every move. It's challenging, but in a way that makes you want to keep getting better. One thing that stands out is the aging mechanic. Every time you die, you age, and it makes you think carefully about every encounter. It feels like the game is punishing you for mistakes, but at the same time, rewarding you when you start mastering your skills. I know that some players felt bored, but it's all about your perspective. If you love the thrill of getting better and just smashing enemies left and right with some of the coolest weapons, then you will absolutely love Sifu, as it's as short. Simple game where your main mission is to just beat 5 main bosses, each residing in their own different areas and possessing different move sets. I know a lot of guys love the challenge and the thrill of mastering each fight, while others wish the difficulty curve was a bit smoother. But who needs it easy when you can have an epic, right? You can say that Sifu is like a blind date with destiny, challenging, unpredictable, and occasionally leaves you bruised and battered. But mastering Sifu is like mastering the art of flirting. It takes practice, but damn if it isn't satisfying when you get it right. So grab your controller because Sifu is waiting to test your kung fu chops, and maybe your patience too.
Becomes a king, and the loser a thief.
Black Myth Wukong. This one is an absolute blast. As someone who's played it, I can tell you it really lives up to the hype. It's no doubt that every one of you guys will get hooked just from the first cutscene. The whole setting, the environment, those colossal monsters or gods, whatever. I can't describe, but that moment felt as if it's a very huge, big budget, awesome AAA game. Anyways, two of the best things that makes the game stand out are the combat and the number of bosses. Speaking of combat, even though you only have a staff, there is no shortage of fun. You can do so much cool stuff and amazing attacks with a single staff that you can't do even with 10 weapons. The developers did a great job by including different powers, strategies, and stances. Now about the boss battles. This one is like, oh my god, where do I even start? The game is loaded with bosses, whether it be the main ones or just some mid-bosses. In every 15 to 20 minutes, you will encounter at least one mini-bosses. Obviously, some of them are pretty strong, and on the other hand, some only takes 1 or 2 tries. Loki, the second chapter's final boss, is pretty strong, and then there's the 4th chapter's final and the Purple Mountains boss. Anyways, by the time you're done with the game, you will surely feel that you have been a part of something amazing. You will see different types of areas, Chinese traditional stuff or drawings, all sorts of boss designs, and even an awesome dragon. Sleeping Dogs. Sleeping Dogs is one of those hidden gems that deserves more recognition. The potential this game had is no joke. I am sure that even now if a sequel is announced, the sales will go off the roof. If you've ever wanted to play a game that blends the action-packed world of Hong Kong cinema with the freedom of an open world game, then Sleeping Dogs is the perfect game. Sleeping Dogs is a perfect game to every detail. I consider this even better than the Grand Theft games. The main character looks awesome and the customization options are amazing from a 2012 game. I am not going to spoil anything, but the story is really good and worth experiencing. The game also offers a variety of killing moves and environmental traps. You can literally kill your enemies however you like. Sleeping Dogs is an open-world version of Sifu combat. Its ability to balance crime and zaniness, blending elements of GTA and Yakuza, is a major strength. Anyways, one of the best things that I like is the driving. It's surprisingly fun. It's got this arcade feel with crazy chases through narrow streets, and you can even hijack cars mid-drive. Also, the game's story has a nice balance between cop drama and triad action, with a ton of side missions and things to do, from street racing to karaoke. Trust me when I say this, but when you start getting into the zone, you will realize how awesome every moment in the game is. Before I reveal my final pick, here are some honorable mentions. The Last of Us 2.
Please, don't. Please don't.
What Remains of Edith Finch.
Tell somebody about what's gonna happen. It started when Mom sent me to bed without dinner. I woke up and I was starving, so I looked around for something to eat. The gerbil food was dry, but I didn't mind it.
Yakuza 0. Alan Wake series. I'm talking about the entire series, which means the original and the sequel. Alan Wake series is like diving into the mind of a thriller writer who's trapped in his own story. What hooked me the most was the tension. It's not a full-blown horror game, but it has this psychological Stephen King-like vibe where the real fear comes from the unknown. The flashlight is your best friend, not just a tool, but your weapon against these shadowy, twisted enemies. You have to weaken them with light before you can even shoot them, which adds an extra layer of strategy to the combat. The pacing is just perfect. It switches between combat, exploration, and unraveling the mystery of what the hell is going on. I loved how the environment played such a big part in the story. Bright Falls, the small town where everything happens, feels like a character on its own with its misty woods, abandoned cabins, and creepy darkness that feels alive. The story gets more and more twisted the further you go, with episodes that feel like you're watching a high-stakes TV show. By the time I finished Alan Wake, I was craving more, and Alan Wake 2 builds on all of that. It doubles down on the psychological horror. It's deeper, darker, and the storytelling is on another level, keeping that balance between action and suspense. Everyone who finished the game sings its praise. You probably won't like the game at the start, but give it 1 or 2 hours and I'm sure you're gonna love it.
I was trapped. There was no way out.
Alright, this finishes our list of the 15 awesome games that blew my mind after full completion. Some of these games have crazy endings while some have full-on twists and turns towards the end. One thing is for sure that there's something shocking and exciting to keep you guys engaged or hooked. That's why the line blew my mind perfectly matches these games. Some of these games start off slow, but when you finally see the curtails fall, you can't help but take a deep breath and feel as if you have been a part of something great. Anyways, if you have made it this far, then please subscribe as I'm close to reaching 22,000 subscribers and join my Discord community for giveaways.